Hello. Today in the Treasury Guild meeting, we have basically three agenda items. One is like an overarching agenda, which is draft a form for community consent on decisions. And we're going to test out a form similar to TIP fund governance, where the form has some options we define, which we think community might find useful, and then but we also add an option for other that they can give an additional feedback on the how they will see some decisions be made, like or solution to be adopted. And the first agenda item is where we write Treasury rules, and then I guess the next question related to that: what are Treasury rules? But I guess everything related to distributing money is going to be part of that, and it's kind of ongoing process. From my side, I would assume first the easiest location. I think, actually I'm not sure. Like, is a Git book overhead to kind of update all the time? Or it's like pretty straightforward, you just open in, log in, and then you write. But then only very few people have access to, I guess.
Yes. Well, maybe it can create push to a Git book. People can maybe put in requests to GitHub. That would be more accessible, and then that can just push to Git book.
Okay, so we have like a GitHub README doc, and then that's a good point. And then we can, but then we need to integrate it with GitHub. I guess that's not that hard to like, and with this we don't have to actually do it in the first step either. But the GitHub has this opportunity that then people see the changes and can comment, because in GitHub book they cannot comment. And brings up the back, like the commenting option is like actually very important. So Google.
You can do in Gitbook, you can also do merge requests, right? So then
you can do what request?
Merge requests. Like if you added the page, and in a way, I don't.
So people can.
I don't really mind, but right now I'm not using GitHub, just Gitbook, and if needed, I can swap. But I'm not sure what the added benefit is. Like, what does it add besides Gitbook?
I think the versioning, like in Gitbook, if you change something, like last time I changed meeting notes, like when the meetings happen, then there is no understanding of timeline. When was it written like this, when it was written like that? But in GitHub, you have all the versions, how it was 1 year ago. But maybe in the Gitbook, it's the same thing, but somewhere else. But both Gitbook and GitHub, I think, are a bit more. Actually, no. Like then again, you just send a link and then they read it, and like they're fine. It may not be as straightforward how to comment or pick a section. But in that sense, Google Docs is a bit more. I would perhaps we even start with Google Docs because we're just starting, we're piloting, but when it gets like out of hand, we have like tens of documents, perhaps then move to Gitbook. Otherwise, like a combination of Gitbook and Google Docs, so that in Gitbook you have reference to the document, but in Google Docs, people can literally say this clause, this sentence, and then they can have like a comment, and then people can discuss there. Where in GitHub, it's more like they have to reference the section they message in. Most of them don't really do. They just say something, And yeah, I guess you can reply there, I assume. And this still the discussion can start. But I rarely seen it really getting people engaged where Google Doc is like, I always see some comments and stuff and more engagement.
Yeah, I think that's a better starting point. Google Docs and Gitbook.
And so yeah, in that sense, I would have like timeline ourselves that we use then Google Docs, but then let's say if we get more than 5 documents, we will look again where do we write Treasury rules.
Yeah, fair. That seems straightforward.
Yeah.
I was
yeah, so yeah.
Last night I was working on Gitbook for an FAQ, and now looking at that, I can see the edits and the merge requests and you can comment on them. So maybe at the outside of a meeting we can simply have a look to see if it's enough.
Okay,
Again,
so Gitbook does have a commenting option and all that, or what you mentioned.
I mean, again, I'm not experienced enough GitHub usually to know the exact differences, but maybe if we use this as an easier starting point, then we can later on compare and see what's needed. That's completely fine by me. Yeah, you need to be in the editing phase, so like app.gitbook.io/snet_ambassadors, I believe, because this is just the viewing side of things, not the editor.
But that was the point. Like, with every user doesn't have the edit access, but as a new person joining in and it's like, okay, this is this like, and he notices something, oh, that thing you're doing here or this rule, and then wants to just comment or ask something about it, then he can't really do it directly.
That might be settings, but sure. Yeah, that should be as low as a bar of access as possible.
Yeah, I'm not.
Check the settings.
All right. Where has anybody noticed, like, where are the rules with, oh, actually another thing, I'm not sure how related it is, of course, but the singularity net deep fund experiment is written in blog posts, so perhaps in future it may be the like actual proper place where to write these things. It's like, and yeah, but because it's it's not really, yeah, it's, yeah, I was like wondering how often they change and like changing, so it's, are there like iterations? But I think the Treasury rules may change like almost every 2 weeks if like this keeps agenda keeps happening. So it blog post wouldn't be a correct place for that. And then, and if it keeps changing all the time, then again it's better to move it to the GitHub. Else you have like Google Documents of version 1, and you have just a bunch of links relating to different versions. Where in good GitHub, it's like, it's meant to be versioned. And of course, we have actually an option to Miro too. So just write it on a sticky.
So how do you feel about Miro, Tivo?
Yeah, I think that would work also. at least for me. And then you can actually show
Yeah, that's also a
relations
good
of
idea.
the rules. But yeah, I think Miro will get more useful at larger scale, and like reading a document would make more sense. But we can add it as an option. Yeah. Who can write Treasury rules?
In a way, so far at least, it's the people in this meeting equals the Treasury Guild, but that's not quite formalized, and that's also very loosely. I think that's as close to a definition as we have right now.
And I guess let's stick to that until something breaks, or
Works for me.
we get. Yeah. So the only issue is that when somebody new joins in, demands a rule, I don't think actually that's even a problem. Maybe that rule is just needed, and he just joined in this discussion just to get to advocate that, hey, you literally need this rule here, and I don't think it's a bad idea. So I'm trying to keep it like open for now. Like,
but then would the same thing apply? Like we touched on during an earlier meeting, like because of the bi-weekly cycle, that would be a 12-day. I think we agreed on 12-day. Like rule decision accepting period.
yeah. So yeah, that's just still the same thing.
Yeah, fair.
So right now we are basically writing ourselves the statements, basically, like where can we do, who can write, and then we put it into this Google form, and then we send it out, and then we get feedback. And whenever a new person is joining in and it says they need a new rule that I don't know what new, like basically you can only maximum, and there was a limit that you can't send more than 5,000 Ajax to a group when they first are initiated, like first 3 months. And then it still goes the same process. Then it's just, okay, this is the question, this is a forum, we give it out in 2 weeks. We come back to this, and then, yeah, so, yeah. So, yeah, and okay. So that coming back to this process, once we get the information, let's say 50% of people agree to the rule, 50% want something else, then what else? What is that? Yeah, what is the threshold to kind of, yeah, we don't actually know. I guess this is not really good to kind of define right now. So basically, in this meeting, after a result is given to us, we do our best to do, I know, but that's that's a very weird to do best, pick the best possible path. But do we need a threshold or something? Yeah, we don't, because we don't even know how many people actually respond.
And also, it's a bit weird to make to give full decision power by those attending a meeting. Like if it's somebody living on the other side of the world, they will by definition never have power. That's not optimal, I feel.
Well, they have the power to use the Google form, but they don't have power. Yeah, if there it's like, yeah, if it's like a not clear which way we should go, then the people in the call have more power. But I guess then if it's not clear, but yeah, what it means not clear, like let's say 80% of respondents in Google form or something. But then again, it's like, okay, what is the minimum response rate we are expecting?
Do people in this meeting also get to reply to the form?
Yeah. Yeah, I
I'm
think
not
so.
trying to just yeah. I don't have a
Okay.
clear solution here right now, but
All right, we have a bunch of questions. So okay, so I think here, yes, we can do a percentage, and then let's say yeah, 1 to 100%, I guess. And then people can choose. We'll see if I can do it in form. If not, then I turn it into like 10% to 100%, so every 10%. And then we kind of get some, so basically the people in the form themselves will decide that. Yeah, right now, I guess no, it's always so hard to start stuff. So this way we get the community understanding where they think we should fill. And then another question was the minimum amount of responses required to establish to have community input, I guess. Now another question is who is eligible to vote basically on these changes as of right now? Everybody who responds, everybody who makes 10 Gmail accounts and then starts answering. Do we need some know your customer here?
yes, I guess. I mean, it depends on the decision. Like maybe that's also something like there could be different. Not trying to make this more complex than needed. But I can imagine there's like somewhat arbitrary decisions which would have a almost no threshold, or like big impact decisions which we would require maybe a supermajority or yeah.
Yeah, we do have a different areas and right now I'm just trying to track the form.
Yeah, maybe the voting should happen in Discord, like you usually do. I know you guys did voting in Discord, so then you know it's Discord people.
Just to scope it down, I think yes, that is another possibility. But throughout this session, would like to kind of get a draft form, so Google form out with the idea of like the deep governance style where people have options and then they can choose other, or in this case, what is the threshold? They give actually the number in the form. So we just keep getting basically all the questions we have right now, we asked to the community, but
yes.
Now we are down to like who can vote in a sense, like what they have to do in order to prove that they are like doing an honest vote, so they don't spam, make new accounts, and that they actually care where this is going to, because it's going to have a huge impact. At least the hope is that. Okay, so maybe better question is requirements to voice and to have a valid vote, basically. So who can vote is a technically easier question because everybody, I guess. But in order, as long as they fill the requirements, which are,
I would say be an ambassador, or at least have attended X amount of meetings or provided X amount of tasks on the work. There's a couple of metrics we can use. Specific level on Discord could be good. There might be people who only participate in like the ideation on Discord threads. That at some point would also qualify, I guess, even though they perhaps never did anything on Discord or never attended a meeting.
If we say Discord is, yeah, I'm actually, it's fine. Like then we ask a Discord name. But then if you use Discord, do we now use Telegram and Reddit too, or we exclude them? So like if you don't come to Discord, you cannot.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's mostly going to impact the people that do the work. So I'm sure they would want to vote.
Yeah. The meetings past 2 months and used, contributed in Discord past 2 months.
This brings a problem in itself, because now we need to keep track of every user when they last participated.
Not, yeah. No, not really. Like, not really. Like basically when you have the forum and you have, let's say, yeah, if there is like hundreds of responses, then it's gonna be a but one way is that I'm not sure that if you have these kinds of requirements in, then people just read it and like, okay, like you get rid of most of the spam, and even if there are a few bad actors in it, you may recognize their like their names, and then you just copy paste shares, like you paste it into the Discord shares, and then you already see what they have said and when it sequences in the last when he said it. Then you can just scroll and yeah, I'm not sure if I should say it in the recording, but basically I usually do like this when I have like a mass data. I don't actually check every row if it's like an overhead. It's not automated. I just do like like every 5th or every 10th thing what seems like it could be wrong, then I just check it, and like if it passes a few times, then I'm like, okay, all of them are good, let's just take it, even if like few bad actors get in. But with the overwhelming amount of good people or people you recognize, they're gonna be more impactful anyway. And most of the time, those who kind of miss the rules doesn't mean they actually have like a bad response. So, but but listing requirement is still good in order to make it clear that you still have to have some kind of skin in the game by the time, which is that in case. Yeah. Okay.
So right now, both of these would be a requirement, or one of them? And if one of them
so
work,
basically right now, I guess that is the future to decide. I would say that maybe you don't need all of them, but this is now the option. Like in the Google form, we say that requirements to have a valid vote, and then we have like attended any ambassador, contributed in past 2 months, and then we have others, so people can suggest more options. So right now we're just making a form to collect data. How do we write treasury rules, where we do it, how do we do it, all the questions coming up. Basically a brainstorming area, so we are not making any decisions here at the moment, but we are moving towards. So pay attention, people. Join these meeting calls, even though I say to you a wrong day and time. Yeah. Any other questions popping up to make this entire thing valid, or now do we want to ask why questions? Or that is
it would make sense to have at least a couple of examples of like potential questions which would qualify for this whole thing, just for context. Let's say you mentioned for example, like a maximum amount of tokens to allocate to a work group, for example.
Yeah, okay, so our next agenda is how should we protect funds and tasks from volatile market? Oh, actually, no. Did we have? Yeah, draft reform. So, yeah, these examples. Does a work group has a full power of bounties, and can we have different hourly prices for different groups? And the treasury, yeah. So you mean an example of?
Example of a rule.
I guess these are the examples. I think the forum could be represented as an example that in order to make a rule, you either make a statement or you make a question with options. And then we could represent this forum as the first example how to kind of initiate treasury rules. Right now, I'm not even sure how do we do the statements. I guess the statement would come after the questions, and then we can do an example of statements next week.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, but that's a good point. Use this form as an example how to make treasury rules. But yeah, that's a good question by the examples because I forgot to include these things. We could, yeah. Do we do an separate Google form to address these two questions? Does the work group has full power of bounties? Yeah, I guess here we just do like a yes, so we can have like two forms. One is treasury rule forms, like how do we set up the system? Another form is answering this specific question, which is basically yes, no, and other.
Well, I can elaborate a bit more on potential answers.
Okay.
Because connected to this, maybe it's too detailed for now. If we use it only as an example, but if we want an actual input as well, I feel it needs a bit more elaboration. For example, like the question which brought this up was like connected to, would it be the work group lead who has power? Would it be the work group, So like practically speaking, the people involved or those attending the meeting. If no, where do you get approval for decision making? Would you go to the town hall? Would you go to the Treasury Guild? Would you go to the Process Guild? Like that, there's stuff attached. And I'm really not trying to make things more complicated than they need to be.
Yeah. Maybe we can also do. Yeah, you're right. Things complicated, mamma mia. but maybe we can mint some tokens, and who actually is in possessed of the special token, he can vote and everything. So it could be easy. But I don't know. Peter, in your community, you know who is smart guys and who is actually producing some values, that you don't have, I don't know, people who will jump in and start some, idiots combinations. You don't like that. So
No, true.
maybe, yeah. And if someone will come, I don't know how much times in the meeting, then he will earn token, and with this token you can come, and that's it.
Well, we are using Jimbles in a half-assed way.
Also good, yeah.
It's just not consistent, I have to admit.
Yeah, okay, so I reshaped the question. Who has control of work group budget? And so this is more accurate than the before. And then other question, where do you get the approval for spending the budget? And then you mentioned, yeah, process point, treasury point. No approval needed. Once budget allocated. I myself would actually other
Oh, town hall makes sense to me as well, because that's like the general organ body.
I would use no approval needed, because then like all the work what goes into like creating a working group, and then like first you create a working group, you create some goals, some ideas what you're gonna do, and once it's like, oh, you get mature to like, let's test it out, you just allocate the budget to them and then let them figure it out. But yeah, in one way you would want to some kind of progress reports or something that you can understand, like, okay, in next month do we allocate again, or do you decide like, okay, next 3 months you already get the budget whatever you do, or like, you got to do something, I guess.
Yeah, for
So yeah, I wouldn't put any, else it's like too bureaucratic if like, oh, okay, I need to $200 to do this, and then you go this entire cycle of meeting people just to get the approval. I think that's beyond the scope. If these budget spendings are bad idea, then yeah, then we next time either we all learn from that, or that the one spending the budget will learn from that, or we improve our processes of allocating, like understanding where the people who are going to be budgeted, how is their understanding of the work they're gonna do and how much it costs. And this brings me actually, do we want to start having some kind of progress report style here? Like, yeah, and then this, can we have a different hourly prices for different groups? I think this question is invalid if this is. Who has control over work group project? So if they basically, the one in control can decide whether this and sour price doesn't actually concern anything. Okay, so
for the first question, I guess Treasury Guild would be a decent alternative option. I'm not saying I would be in favor of it, but just I could see the Treasury Guild being in charge of a budget.
Okay, and so whenever money is needed, then that's actually could be a good idea. Like,
well, I don't think that would make it very bureaucratic. It just feels like a potential option to include there on the question.
But this way you can actually get like a progress report in a way that I need $500 now, and you basically this amount for this, and that's basically a progress report in a way. Else they're just gonna spend and track their own, and then yeah. It's hard, but I will add that in that situation because it's an option.
I think on the reporting side, as long as it's transparent, it can be, for all I care. It's like maybe we can have like one of the town halls, the weekly ones. Maybe we can select one of them, either the first or the last or the whatever of the month, and have the group work group leaders provide just a 2-minute update on their financials, something like that. That could in my eyes already be sufficient if it's backed with just a sheet with the number, let's say.
Okay, so monthly financial updates in
Alternatively, in the there's only 2 monthly treasury meetings, so that I don't want to take that reporting into there, but might be a better fit. But I think town hall could also be interesting, because then just general passers-by who join the town hall can also see the processes, just get a glimpse of it, what's possible and what they could also do in a potential own work group. So yeah, there's some benefits, but also some might be boring for people. I'm not sure. I wouldn't mind listening to it, but
Yeah. I think town hall is a good idea.
I'm gonna put something obvious that filling a specific form and or maybe giving sharing the public sheet of work group costs. Just more options people can choose from. Okay, so do we make 2 different proposals out of that? So one is like where to write treasury rules, who can write treasury rules, requirements to have a valid vote, what is the threshold to accept direction, no, the rule. And then another one is who has control of work group budget, where to approval for spending, where do you get approval for spending the budget, and how do we audit work group budget spending? And how should we protect funds? We can just move this to the next time we have a meeting.
so that's 5 separate questions then.
6 different questions, 2 different forms right now. So all of them in one form, or maybe we split even this into 2. So one is where we write treasury rules and who can write treasury rules. And then another one is requirements to have a valid vote and what is the threshold to accept the rule. So it's like 3 different stuff. All sounds like treasury guild, well, like governance guild stuff. But,
I'm not sure what the benefit would be for splitting it up. I mean, it makes it a bit more
yeah. Okay, good point.
assumable,
But if you make it all into one, then it's like too long. Oh, but yeah, now you're right.
Well, maybe I'm not sure if I'm right. I mean, I like bite-sized chunks as well. But it's just once we actually get them to do a bite-sized chunk, it would be sad if they then stop and don't click the other 2 forms.
Okay, yeah, let's do then. I think 1 form.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if this scares them away, then whatever. But that's we need to somehow keep it. We need to make it simple. Perhaps, I wonder if
like the questions not mandatory to answer. Like if they're done after 3 questions and really can't bear with it anymore, then that's also fine.
Yeah. Okay, so let's have one form, and I can craft that in after the meeting, not before the next town hall. So this was our discussion regarding trying to write a treasury rule, and in a context of drafting a form. And this was our thought process. How do we basically what goes into this form? And if you have any other ideas, or then write them in the form, because all the questions are open for more options.